here's how I made this temple battle map out of this empty snack box and some cheap light balls.
First, I smeared some Vaseline into my very improvised mold. Then I mixed the casting material and added a few drops of acrylic black right before pouring it in. Pro tip: do not overfill the mold, unless of course you enjoy sanding off tiny bumps from the bottom later. I had to be gentle removing the cured cast, otherwise I'd bend the plastic mold, and honestly, that would just be an excuse to buy more snacks, eat the entire box in front of the TV, and deeply question my life choices. After that, I mixed some hot water with borax powder to make a shiny, beautiful crystal, and then I smashed it into tiny little pieces so I could glue them on these little light balls. To make a marble temple, I obviously needed a marble floor. To achieve this look, I used a foam board, some water, black acrylic paint with a touch of silver and gold, and a lot of blowing. I know, it's not the most elegant technique, but it did the trick. And to seal in all my germs, I finished it off with a fixative spray. To make this a playable map, I marked 1-inch grid and added some white rhinestones.
To make the walls, I needed some foam, but I was having serious problem cutting the foam I had, probably because it's a low quality foam. So I was walking around the house looking for a solution when I stumbled upon this flower foam.
This material could be sliced with a kick slicer, which is just basically a stretch out wire. It also easily takes the shape of my texture roller. The reason for all this is of course that it's really soft, which is not ideal for a playable model. But I was thinking maybe after a coat of Mod Podge it would firm up enough. I was wrong. The flower foam soaked up a lot of Mod Podge and it did get a little firmer, but not nearly enough. But I wasn't ready to give up on it just yet. So I mixed up 2 spoons of Mod Podge with about 1 spoon of acrylic wall filler and a little water. The way of applying this mixture is spreading a thin layer with a gentle brush and losing patience after 1 minute and just dumping the whole thing on the surface and smearing it around. After remembering you need some for the side panels, you then scrape the bottom of the bowl, hoping it would be enough. To my surprise, this method actually worked, and I had a wall firm enough for a build. I primed it white and gave it a base coat of light gray followed by a black wash. Unfortunately, I hadn't considered the weather when applying it, and that made some bits of gray to peel off as it wasn't dry enough. So I came back in with some gray, only to find out it was the wrong shade of gray. At this point, I was considering starting the whole painting from the beginning, but as I was dry brushing the wall, first with tan, then with white, I realized it kinda looks good this way. Next, I built a shrine from the traditional foam. I emptied my hole maker to paint some silver and gold coins, and melted a candle to make a smaller candle. And also I crumbled some of my leftover flower foam to use as moss on the wall. Then I 3D printed my goddess because I couldn't sculpt one even if my life depended on it. And finally, it's time to glue everything into place.